Hey everyone. So this is the new loadout that I've been working on. Uh, so as you'll be able to tell, the main combo here is Lenz and Mios. And so the way it works is that Lenz is good for slowing people down, and then Mios lets me more easily slam them. It's been working really well for me. The gameplay you'll see is going to be a pretty mixed bag. It's mainly the older gameplay that I have. You're gonna notice that my secondary choice is probably gonna change over time, or it's gonna be different from what I currently use, which is Zacti. I think at first I have Twin Gremlins, and then I eventually switched to Axani, and then I experimented a bit more. There's even a point where I was using dual Tox Assist. And anyway, I'm still making adjustments to it, so maybe there might be another secondary change or whatever, but for the most part, this is how the loadout works, because the main combo really is Lenz and Mios. The secondary is mainly a combo with the Mios slam, which is why I put Zacti in the newest version, because since Zacti does the gas procs, it'll deal toxin damage, and of course Mios' slams deal toxin damage, so if that toxin damage doesn't kill if that toxin damage doesn't kill the opponent, then I'll just add more toxin damage to finish them off, rather than having to go through their shield and stuff. So that's my thinking behind that. Plus Zacti is Zacti is pretty good overall if someone's coming through doors or whatever. And this loadout is definitely very much suited for close quarters, so stuff that's really going to help me in those situations will be really important. Something that you'll notice with my Oberon is I'm actually using no current leap. It's actually not something that I expected to be making much use of again, but it turns out to actually be really good for this loadout because speed is so important. At the same time, though, I just couldn't really lower my EHP because being able to survive certain amounts of hits is also really important here. Mainly just high damage hits, because what sort of happens is that I have to charge into people a lot, basically. Not not necessarily, but I slow them down, and then I basically run towards them to be able to slam. Sometimes that can be really quick, it generally is, otherwise it just wouldn't really work. But sometimes, people are just too quick for that to work consistently, without having that extra speed or that extra buffer for damage. So that's sort of why I did need the extra EHP, and why I couldn't just have another mobility boost. I can't exactly remember, but I think I have tactical retreat on this build for that reason. I think it's actually set up in a way where if I were to get hit by something like a Daikyu, I would probably be able to survive with a Miles block or something, and then that would activate it. I can't remember exactly, but I remember that was the thinking behind it partially. So yeah, I've been using this for a few days. Only reason why I didn't make a video on it is because I didn't really have time just to make the commentary and stuff. And now that I have a bit more time, here it is. You also notice that this video is longer because I've finally verified my YouTube account. Which means I'll probably also be streaming on YouTube too rather than Twitch. So yeah, anyway. In a lot of these videos you're going to see that I just don't really do much with these secondaries as much as I try. Just because they just don't really work out the loadout. At the point where I do use Axolotl, you probably see a lot of, well, a few good moments with it. And that's mainly because like Axolotl's overall good. Well, it's not really just that, but like it was the fact that I could just use it, like it was my primary weapon or whatever. Yeah, I didn't like previously realize like how much the extra mobility can actually do for gunplay. Like I still generally think that like the energy is more important, but extra mobility just helps quite a bit in just like your average encounters. So that's basically that, and that's one of the 3 matches I think I had recorded here. So yeah, I think I really can't remember like what secondaries using each of these matches, but I guess we'll see soon enough. So yeah, one thing that really surprised me is the lack of damage that Lenz often does. Because I know it has 200 total damage, and like it seems to very often do a whole lot less than that, like around 120. And that's like against frames like Loki, like not really high armor frames, unless Loki is high armor in Conclave without me knowing or something. I sort of doubt it, but yeah, I have a clip like that where like I stick a Loki who's already like lost at least a third of their shields. I'll say more like half of their shields though. So like half or a third of their shields, and then I stick them, and it still doesn't kill them. I actually have to have an additional shot, and you know that cold proc AoE is actually what kills them. Funnily enough, it's kind of funny when something with such low damage ends up killing. I guess like the lower damage aspect of something, because I guess I guess things like Axani exists or whatever. But then we have weapons like Lenz that, you know, have a high damage aspect and a really low damage aspect, and then the low damage aspect into killing sometimes. Yeah, as you can see, this is a really devastating combo. Because as I said before, Mios has these toxin slams, and Lenz just makes them so much easier to actually pull off. Also a benefit to me not using the extra EHP, to me not lowering the HP, is that I can often just go into these Lenz blasts to slam somebody. And so I can, you know, generally survive the self-damage. Like, my EHP should be around like 300, like not, like I'd probably estimate like 275. I'm not gonna calculate it right now, but it should be around there. And so I can very much survive a pretty direct Lenz blast. So yeah, that's something you'll see me do a few times. I'll be taking that self damage just to kill someone, and it works out pretty well most of the time. Like, you know, they're there with a cold proc. There's not a whole lot they can do. And, you know, sometimes I think I usually do it because I can see that they're just in an especially bad situation. Because you can pretty easily escape with cold procs in general. It's just that cold procs make it harder to escape from basically every situation. And some a lot more than others. Like if you slam or like you're charging a wolf sledge or something, you probably see a wolf sledge users against this soon. But yeah, if you're doing like one of those things, uh, that's gonna make the whole timing a lot more potentially punishing. So that's pretty cool to me. No pun intended. I have been thinking about other frames to use this with. Like, I'm pretty sure that like what I'm basically doing is sort of a waste with Oberon because like Oberon doesn't really have any notable synergy with these weapons. But still, I don't really have much of an idea of who would be ideal for this. My guess would be a frame like Necros though. Because like you could soul punch them as your lens blasting, I guess. And then so they're knocked down in the lens blast, meaning that they'll have a longer time to get up, and then that'll make it that much easier for you to slam them. Plus, you'd be draining a bit of their energy at the same time. So you might see me actually using Necros with this in the future. And I think that would actually be the first time I've used Necros in Conclave. And probably like the first or second time you'll be able to see me using a frame other than Oberon in Conclave. So that would also be kind of cool, I guess. I have been sort of wanting to branch out more, but like I know Oberon is my specialty and will stay my specialty. It's just that if I can get a better option for some things, then I think that would be pretty nice to use. So yeah, I'll probably be trying Necros or maybe a frame like Ember. I really don't know. Might even try Sarin or Chroma because I think Sarin Spores can deal toxin damage, which means I'll be able to actually finish things off better from Mios shots. I mean, from Mios slams. And so that will have that extra synergy. And Chroma for a similar reason. And maybe he could like, or maybe I could use like a cold Chroma, so that he could sort of replace the role of Lenz sometimes. Yeah, I don't really know. It's still all experimental, but you can see it's just a really well working experiment. Yeah, one thing that also really surprised me is how quick Mios slams are. Like, you'll see me oftentimes, or I'll slam someone, and then I'll slam them just as they're recovering from that knockdown. So I get these pretty good double slams oftentimes. And the first slam often just outright kills even like some relatively tanky opponents just because it has such high toxin damage that people's shields don't really matter. So a frame like Frost, Frost has a bunch of his EHP and shields. Same thing with, Mag sometimes, where like, they might have overcharged, or, someone in general might be using overcharged, and then I just stand them and like those shields don't really matter. Which is kind of nice, depending on how you look at it. I mean, definitely from my perspective, it's nice because uh, it makes the killing that much easier. I don't think I've used this against an Anaros though. I think higher health frames would show pretty big weakness in this, but I think high shield is generally meta. Like, you want high shields for Daikyu, you want high shields for Snipetron, and you want high shields for Arcoplasma. It's a ton of things that you want high shields for. And there's not really much that you want high health for. Like, there aren't any, like, really good impact weapons. And people don't really, like, use cold weapons much either. I think Cynode's similar. Like, I think it's magnetic in PvE, but in Conclave it's like evenly split. Impact puncture slash. So there's pretty much nothing that you want high health for in the current meta, unless maybe you're going with some sort of anti-meta thing. Not entirely sure, but you get my point. All the most dangerous stuff is best counteracted with shields. And so to have a loadout that specializes so well against shields is a good advantage to have. So yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the loadout itself. Well, you can tell it's a really good loadout. Like, I haven't been using it for long, especially at the point in these videos. I haven't been using it for very long, and you're gonna see, like, over time, like, even just over the course of these matches that I'm showing here, that it just keeps getting better. Even like not necessarily because of like the secondary changes, but it just gets better over time as I learn to use it more. Because like it's a good loadout, which is a lot of the reason why that I can use it relatively well, even with my lack of experience in comparison to my main weapons. But then as I gain the experience, with these, you're gonna see that it's going to just keep on improving. Like I'm not very well accustomed to Lenz, for example. Like it has the same flight speed as Ogress, which is what allows for some of the levels of accuracy I have, because like I'm used to that flight speed and stuff. But obviously the fire rate's a lot lower, the DPS is a lot lower, and the entire reason to use it is different. So while I can get some good sticks occasionally, I'm really going to be learning the other aspects of it, and that's what's going to really going to push its performance over. Because like I said, it's only 200 damage on a stick, and it seems to be less sometimes. I don't know exactly why. I think it has to do with lag, basically. Like the thing is on the person, but if they're moving fast enough, they might technically seem further away from it, depending on how it loads. So that'll be reducing the damage just by moving a certain speed. That's just my guess, though. Anyway, you're just gonna see me get better at just using the parts of it that I'm not used to. Same thing for Miles, where like you can see that I can slam well, but you notice I'm not using the combo very much. So once I get better at using these loadouts, you're gonna see me doing even better than I am now, which is probably going to make it much like my Awakened One loadout, which will support pretty much what I said about it being mainly a synergy thing. Because you'd either have to like argue that like the combo itself is overpowered, or that like, or that it's just not overpowered at all. Like, you know that like nobody really uses Lenz, for example. Like, I don't think anyone would really say that Lenz is overpowered by pretty much any means, unless like you're just like super against AoE or cold procs. That's the only reason why you'd probably be against it. And of course, in that case, I would mention something like Angstrom or Cybear. So you probably wouldn't label Lenses overpowered. Mios I can understand though, like Mios maybe, but you can see that I'm not using it for the same reason that most people use it. I'm actually not even very good with the the combo, and I'm actually not sure if I could like really consider it overpowered, like because of that combo. Mainly because I have a hard time using it, but I see that a lot of people don't have a hard time, so it's sort of hard to judge. I'm on the edge about that, but it's not something that I care a whole lot about because, even if Miles is nerfed in a way that stops what I'm doing here, I could easily switch to something like dual I-Core, maybe like some other dual swords, just something else with high slam damage, or like maybe even I'll try Legion. Plenty of good choices there that will pretty much all do what I'm trying to do here, or what I am doing here. Even if it does it a little differently, it's still going to apply pretty well. So yeah, that's not something that I'm concerned about. And so if you think Mios is like the reason why, like Mios's overpoweredness is being the reason why this is working well for me, either it's gonna stay that way because it's the aspect that nobody really considers overpowered, or it's gonna change and I'll just have to show that that's indeed not Mios itself that's making this combo do well. So, just another really synergetic loadout as far as I can see. Especially once I put Sakti in, which I'm not sure if I have in this video, but you'll definitely see it pretty soon in the future because I have plenty of gameplay of that. And so, it's overall been turning out pretty satisfyingly. So I might both be able to make technical improvements and mechanical improvements, and you really just be able to see this get better over time. I'm working on other loadouts like this too. Like I am trying to make a wide variety of loadouts, and not only to prove a point, but just because these are generally good sorts of loadouts too. Like I had enough of a point to prove with the Awakened One thing, but these are still just good sorts of loadouts to have. So making more is going to be useful basically. And I'm working on a few possibilities like right now. Like the main idea I'm going with at the moment is with Zenith. So I'll see how that ends up working out. it might be something like a, well, I don't know. You can imagine the sorts of things I'll do with Stenith. Like I've tested a lot of possibilities already, but you'll have to see. I even have some other weapons in mind, but it takes time to make these loadouts because you really just have to like balance the right synergy with it. Like what you can see with this combo, just I can't just rely on like the cold proc to like always be able to let me slam with Mios. There have to be other things in place sometimes, or else it just won't be a reliable thing. Plenty of weaknesses to cover, and stats that really have to add up. So, when I get more, I'll show more, but I'll have to see how soon that ends up being. Also, did you see that where like he didn't really take damage? I'm not sure what happened there. I really don't know. It's happened a few times where like someone would be like at a door or whatever. That was like the most like open example that I've seen though, where like clearly they were in like line of sight of that, and it just didn't fall through. But yeah, something you probably also know is that I'm not used to Lenz charge time. You see that a lot of times I'll release before it's fully charged because I think maybe because like I'm thinking of it like Daiki or something. I don't know, but I really have to get used to that too. So yeah, this last match ends up being like one of the better matches, I think, because Akzane is definitely was definitely working better than 20 Gremlins. Plus, I did get to test this against a Wolf Sledge user. This person actually uses the Wolf Sledge and Plasmor combo. I also have a match where like we're both using Wolf Sledge and Plasmor on the same team. It's a pretty nice match. So I'll upload that soon, but I think it's kind of funny how I'm testing the loadout that I use to sort of like show to like show the comparison to my Wolf Sledge and Plasmor combo, and then I find someone who has that same combo for the first time. Well, no, not for the first time. I did it once, but that was only a partial match. So this is the first time for full matches, basically. And so, yeah, it turns out pretty well. Like I did really like how just like the options that I had. Like I'm used to playing with low mobility, so like I can't really dodge really well, but I could survive a lot of stuff. But in this case, I'm playing with a higher mobility, and I did find Wolf Sledge to actually be pretty easy to dodge at a lot of times. Not to say that I still didn't get hit, but being easy to dodge doesn't mean I have to always dodge. But it does. But the matchup does work out pretty well for me, just because I have good options against it, despite that combo being generally pretty good. I don't know if Mirage is a good choice to use with it, but in any case, that's it worked out well this way. I don't really have much else to say about that. Alright, so SHAREfactory has this thing where like I can only have a certain amount of audio clips in like one project. So like it's like, for example, I'll start recording, and then that whole line of audio it is like just like it's one line of audio basically, and I think I can only have like 8 of those. And in a video this long, uh, that 8 or whatever number it actually is, each of those audio things have to be a lot longer. And you all know that I'm not really uh, good at, well, talking a whole lot. And look at that, now there is a bunch of noise outside. I'm not sure if you can hear that. But in any case, I'm just gonna stop the commentary here and let you enjoy the rest of the match. So I hope you've enjoyed.
One minute remains. Seconds remain. Seconds remain. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Impress me, pupil.